Week 7, video number 8. The topic is crime-focused propaganda, how media narratives manufacture fear, shape public opinion, and influence policy. Hello friends, welcome back. Today we enter a space where media reporting transforms from information to instrumentation, where crimes is not merely documented, it is amplified, recognized, reorganized, and sometimes repurposed to create political, social, or ideological outcomes. This is crime-focused propaganda, where the media crafts emotional environments rather than factual realities. Understanding this helps us to decode why society fears certain crimes more than others. Crime propaganda is the strategic use of crime narratives to influence public emotions, support specific policies, generate political loyalty, or intensify social divisions. It relies on exaggeration, selective reporting, emotional vocabulary, symbolic imagery, and repetitive messaging. While crime itself factual, the sense of danger created by propaganda is often constructed. Propaganda doesn't invent crime, it inflates its meaning. Humans respond more quickly to threat-based information. This is evolutionary psychology. When news frames a story as dangerous, shocking, unsettling, the audience fear response activates instantly. And that would be very, very viral through social media platforms, by mobile university likewise. Now we have to focus on this crime propaganda. It leverages availability bias, fear conditioning, catastrophic thinking, and group threat narratives. The result is panic that feels logical but is often linguistically engineered. When we are discussing propaganda, messages typically revolve around fear. For example, your safety as at risk. When we are discussing about identity, the example would be protect your group from outsiders. Urgency, the example would be we must act now. These pillars convert ordinary crime reporting into political messaging. When media repeatedly connects crime with a particular community, region, or ideology, audiences begin to equate identity with threat. Media doesn't report all crimes equally. Some crimes receive saturation coverage while others barely receive a mention. This selection is not random, it is editorial. If a certain crime supports a political narrative, it receives dramatic attention. If it contradicts the narrative, it is minimized or ignored. This selective visibility shapes society's understanding of what is common, serious, or increasing, often inaccurately. When the media frames one crime as symbolic of a broader trend, fear multiplies. We can take some example. One violent incident becomes a sign of national decline. One conflict becomes proof of systematic breakdown. One offender becomes representative of a community. This amplification creates a shared emotional experience of crisis. even when data doesn't support it. In crime propaganda, blame is often redirectable to fit political or ideological narratives. Instead of focusing on individuals, we may target communities, religions, regions, political groups, or international actors. This shift from personal accountability to collective guilt fuels prejudice and social division. Language here becomes a tool for agenda setting. Even when if you have heard agenda setting theory or magic bullet theory, you will understand how this would be triggered to you. Propaganda relies heavily on lexical intensifiers. Words such as barbaric, inhuman, nightmare, explosive, disturbing appear frequently even in minor incidents. This emotional inflation exaggerates severely. Over the time, the audience begins believing society is more dangerous than it is actually. Fear creates compliance, and propaganda knows this. Crime propaganda rarely lies directly, it misrepresents. For example, showing a rise in crime without including population growth, using percentage increase without raw numbers, or highlighting rare crimes as skyrocketing. Linguistic framing of statistics often misleads more than the numbers themselves. Forensic linguists help reveal these manipulations. In well-documented case, a series of unrelated incidents were presented as part of organized criminal pattern. In that, this maybe we can take. So, media used identical phrasing across outlets, dramatic music, emotional interviews, selective visuals, and repeated headlines. This led to public panic, increased policing, and community tension. Later, investigators confirmed the incident were unrelated. In the year 2020 and in the year 2022, when that farmer agitation occurred. So, this kind of, news or misinformation were generated, and the crowd management was, primary thing for the local police. So, these are the things that, generate public panic, and we have to highlight as a forensic linguists. The crisis was a linguistic construction, not a factual pattern. When public fear rises, politicians respond. Laws may be tightened, policing may intensify, surveillance may expand, all based on emotionally charged narratives rather than data. Crime propaganda creates a sense of urgency that policymakers feel pressured to address. Thus, language indirectly shapes legislative behavior. Forensic linguists help distinguish emotional atmosphere from empirical reality. Forensic linguists help by identifying propaganda vocabulary, mapping ideological narratives, evaluating whether crime panic has factual bias or not, assisting courts in cases where propaganda influences public mood, educating journalists on ethical framing. This is also very, very important. Supporting digital platforms in counter propaganda efforts. So one should become a stabilizing force in volatile information ecosystem. Thank you for exploring this critical dimension. Crime propaganda thrives not because crime increases, but because of fear increases. Fear is easy to spread, but clarity is stronger. In the next session, we examine how to detect ideological bias in digital content, an essential skill for forensic linguists to work in cyber investigation and social media analysis. We will see you in video number 9. Thank you. Thank you very much.